Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye of a tutorial here today. We're gonna be doing the video on Young Thug. So this is gonna be a V3, and I'm happy that Young Thug got out. So I wanted to do a updated vocal preset for him. If y'all like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. You want to support the channel? Well, check the links, and in the comments, let me know what you think. Let me know what other artists I should do. So let's get this to you.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents.
All right, so that's me trying to do my best impression of Young Thug. Here is the auto-tune settings that we have right here. His vocal reminds me of like an ice cream sandwich, the way it's really squeezed in, but it has a nice bumpiness to it. You know, like that one ice cream sandwich that has like the frosted, the shredded chocolate on it type shit and the almonds. That's what we're looking at here today, that nice tight sound with a little bit of texture, okay? So we find ourselves using these auto-tune settings, and yeah, I just landed with a good retune speed, some flex tune. That helps bring out some of that dynamic parts of his vocal, and yeah, decent humanized. So that's the auto-tune we got. Let's see what it sounds like with and without the preset.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing.
All right, cool. So you guys see a huge difference. Makes it sound pro, mainstream, very presence, but with that crumply ice cream sandwich texture. First plugin that I use right here is Silk Vocal. Young Thug has this little type of, you know, this little, how can I say, this little agitation, this little bit of a rash, almost like a skin rash, a little bumpily type of thing in his voice. So I used the Silk Vocal to get that under control, especially targeting that mid-range and that upper high end.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't.
Yeah, so he's mostly working on that upper mid. Then I used the SSL V2. I added a little bit of distortion, just a half a dB of mic pre-distortion to the vocal to help give it a little bit more aggression and presence. So I love distorting that mic pre just ever so slightly, just to give a little bit of that urgency, a little bit of that Black Air Force energy, as I like to call it. Then after that, you know, I like this SSL EV2 because I get to, you know, just select a different type of low end. So it's just a different flavor of ice cream. You know, you got chocolate and you got like mint over here or whatever type shit. So that's where I found myself using the brown knob and kind of affected the low end a little bit different. His voice is really crumply, so I'm working on that low end, making sure it's still full. And that's why I didn't cut off too much with the filter, only about 100 hertz.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come.
All right, cool. So great presence, and of course you use a little shuffle at the top to boost some brightness. This is our basic de-esser. That's how it's working.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one.
All right, cool. You guys see that as well, that de-esser working a few dBs. Then I use the C6. I love using this preset right here when I have somebody who has a skimpy type of vocal, okay? So that's like skinny a little bit, and there's a little bit of brittleness. It reminds me almost of a toothpick because it's easy to crack, but it still has a sharpness to it. So that's where I found myself using this, you know, C6, using this start with DS preset. We're going to be de-essing a little bit right here, a little bit of low mid, so de-essing and demudding.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans and one, Cadillac the ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one.
So that kind of reminds me of like popcorn a little bit when I put it on the electro mode because it's a little bit more dynamic and more responsive to the vocal. Reminds me of popcorn, you feel me? Like fresh out the kettle type of situation. Or when you take one of those dollar popcorn bags and then you throw it into the microwave, you know, that's what it reminds me of. It just has this popping type of texture, and that's just coming down to the fact that we put it on electro mode, and you know, that's kind of giving us more responsiveness. All right, it's giving us more of a dynamic feel,
And that's good for Young Thug, cause his voice is cracking all the time, and you know you gotta bring it out.
okay? So after that, we're gonna use the J37 tape. This is also gonna help us to get a mid-range bump that's gonna give a little bit of weight to the vocal, but also smoothing out some of those potentially harsh things in that upper mid-range of his vocal by kind of soft saturating the transients of his lead vocal. Now, I like this plugin because you also have the independent. You want more saturation, you could do it right here, while on Flutter independent, but I just like to use that red tape, or sometimes I use any of the tape modes, and I just use my ears and just try to hear, am I smoothing things out? Like when, you know, people are in the kitchen baking treats and croissants and shit and cookie dough, you know, they start rolling it with the little dough beater and shit like that, and they smooth that hard piece of dough out. So that's what we're looking at here.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing.
All right, that's perfect. Okay, so yeah, it just kind of smoothing things out a little bit. Then I use the fresh air ever so slightly. I'm already understanding that this is a sweet cream smoothie. It already has natural sugar inside of it, so I don't need to put more brown sugar or white sugar in it. I don't need to add more sugar. It's already sweet. That's why I just use the dollop of fresh air.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come.
All right, so you see what we're working with right there? RVox, we already know what the RVox does, you know, just to ever so slightly pinch. That's to give more mid-range. Then we used another de-esser. We know what that does. All right, so then I use it for my reverb of choice. I went ahead and used the Space Rider. I went ahead and used the Space Rider, used the fourth delay.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight.
That song specifically, Dumb and Dumber, had a really Galaxy Dark Night type of vibe to it. So I went ahead and just used that space reverb in there, you know, and the Space Rider can double up as a reverb, double up as a delay. So then I found myself just rolling off the top end, and I gave it a bright reverb, blended it very low. Then I used the doubler stomp, great for Young Thug, as you know, it's a heavy auto-tune song, and this chorusing and flanging combination and detuning is gonna make murky up the waters, kind of making the auto-tune a little bit more invisible.
School the Trans Am one, Candlelight and Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come.
So just by blending a signal like that, you make the auto-tune smoother. Then I use the RVox In Your Face Vocal as the preset, and I love the way it concentrates the mid-range. You feel me? Kind of like if I just grab some lemons and I just squeeze them on, that would be considered concentrated lemon juice. That would not be considered lemonade. So I want that concentrated lead vocal to be blent right back in, up the middle, giving me full of presence and full of mid-range energy.
Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents, old school the Trans Am one, Candlelight ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck.
All right, great. And then the ad-libs, they sound exactly like Young Thug on this song, and we achieved that using that doubler stomp, which gave us that chorusy phaser thing. Use the silk vocal, and I just always use this as an ad-lib starter. I just love it. It gives me what I need. Isolated mid-range for the ad-libs. You don't really need top end for the ad-libs. You don't really need low end. Just more mid-range reinforcement. SSL EV2 here, and I'm using the limiter to control the transients on that ad-lib, right? Because they're kind of all over the place. Then I use a double down with another limiter and a reverb.
Pockets full of grandparents. Old school the Trans Am one. Candlelight and ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Pockets full of grandparents. Old school the Trans Am. Down in land guns. Pockets full of grandparents. Old school the Trans Am one. Candlelight and ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck. Down in land guns. Pockets full of grandparents. Old school the Trans Am one. Candlelight and ambulance one. You good, your mans can't come. I don't give a fuck about nothing.
Yeah, okay, so that's pretty much the end of the video here today. I just want to say thank you very much for being a great part of my YouTube family. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. You want to support the channel? Well, check the links, and in the comments, let me know what you think. Suggest more artists so we can keep this series going. And I just want to say thank you for giving me the time today to explain this to you, breaking down Young Thug's sound. Thug is back home. Slime. The King Slime is back. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, YouTube gang. Peace.